From Wbng TV, this is an Action News Special Edition, Flood 2011. Looking back, moving forward.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Candace Chapman.
And I'm Dave Graber.
From 6 to 12 inches of rain, a downpour from Tropical Storm Lee deluged the area just a month ago.
And we begin with taking a look back when forecasters, their eyes fixed to the south, began seeing what they described as a perfect storm brewing.
All of this is tracking northeast, and that path is going to mean a flood threat.
Literally, moisture from Katia and moisture from Lee are converging over the Chesapeake Bay and coming due north into the southern tier. All of our computer models were showing somebody in New York and Pennsylvania was going to get as much as 10 inches of rain. And that really set up a lot of red flags for us. Unfortunately, we were ground zero.
The ground began saturating in areas like West Corners early in the day on September 7th.
Rainfall is coming. It could be heavy at times. It could be equal to or very close to 2006.
We start tonight with a dire warning. As waters rose and a race against time began, briefings with emergency officials were becoming more frequent.
We were using the word record-breaking. We were using words like flood of 2006.
Catastrophic flooding was quickly becoming a reality.
It was basically like a flash flood on the river. You know, a flash flood is defined as a rapid flood that occurs in less than 6 hours from the heavy rain. Well, we were seeing flash flood type conditions on the Susquehanna River back in '06 with the similar type of rainfall. So we knew Wednesday evening, with the way the rain was coming out, that we were going to see tremendously fast rises on these rivers.
The differences between 2006 and the destruction of September's deluge narrowed quickly.
It was very disheartening, and it's very difficult to get that message across because you really feel for the people that are going to be affected.
For forecasters, what's hardest to predict is often hardest to tell.
The biggest thing for me is that, you know, property can be replaced, it can be rebuilt, but it's the lives that we really want to protect the most.
Evacuations would begin overnight, and by morning, 2011 would prove to surpass what were thought to be unbreakable records and dish out unthinkable destruction.
I'm going to lose everything again, and I'm not going to start over. I'm just going to leave.
Now, forecasters have used really the past month to finalize rain amounts and river levels, and as expected, the highest rain totals were in Wbng, Appalachian, sort of that area where almost a foot fell.
Yeah, and at Wbng, the river actually broke the storm gauge, and it topped the 2006 record by 4 feet.
That's amazing. And it's actually those 2006 levels where Binghamton Mayor Matt Ryan used those to set a plan for a massive and quick evacuation of the city.
But many of the low-lying areas hit even harder this time. Mayor Ryan worked with the Broome County Emergency Operations Center. Ryan says things got hectic late on September 7th when they got word the waters may go over the wall. Just before midnight, fire and police crews moved out, evacuating areas in the First Ward and downtown high-rises where many people with special and medical needs live.
Met and talked about the areas that we needed to focus on, and they went out with trucks and bullhorns and everything. A lot of people didn't listen, and we had to take some people out in boats and stuff, but you know, I think that reality has set in, and every time, hopefully this doesn't happen again, but we always learn from an ordeal like this and try to make it even a better plan next time.
Ryan says the city had a big problem in the high-rises after electricity was turned off and food was left to spoil in refrigerators. It's one thing the city will look at in its evacuation planning. Now, firefighters worked hours to rescue people. Action News reporter Haley Burton sat down with some of those firefighters who were right in the water, and she has their stories.
The rate of destruction, the rate of water rises, nothing I've ever encountered before. I was coming home from work at lunch. I never made it home. I made it here to the fire station, and things had gotten hectic. I was assigned a crew and told to go stand by at Phil's Chicken House. We got our crew together, donned personal flotation devices, started wading into the trailer park. You get a newfound respect when they say don't go into swift-moving water. You know, you knock on one door and you realize what they're leaving. They're looking back. You go to the next block, you knock on the door, and you realize that you're going to come back in a couple hours. and it's all going to be underwater.
For me, it was an eye-opener. You know, we've handled some swift water stuff, but this was, like I said, 10 hours of straight in the water. You probably pulled out maybe 50 folks and at least probably 20 or so animals. You might go over a bump and realize that it was the top of someone's car. Horns from the cars, as they went underwater, they would come on. It's kind of eerie.
In the first 36 hours or so, we had close to 300 calls. Initial concerns were getting people out of the low-lying areas, people that needed to be rescued. The first ward was a huge priority. South side, Vestal Ave area, Conklin Ave area. Just trying to keep focused, keep calls moving.
Pretty much started going door to door and evacuating as many people as we could. You walk into people's houses and people are having, you know, in some cases the worst thing they've ever had to go through. You calm people down as best we could and try to reassure them that, you know, things are going to be okay, but it was a difficult time for everybody.
If you think about it, nothing really started happening until around noon of the 7th was when it really started raining and we started getting some concerns. By 10 o'clock the next day, we had 16 people with boats from out of town here to assist us. We actually had to leave the station because we had standing water here. We had 8 inches outside the doors here, 3 inches inside the building. Well, it was very hectic and a bit unnerving too, I got to tell you, but the plan worked well.
The Broome County Emergency Operations Center was the staging area for evacuations and rescues, for public information, and for coordinating housing emergency responders from all across the state. Our Matt Markham sat down with Emergency Management Director Brett Chellis.
This was a huge effort to evacuate so many people from Broome County. Tell me a little bit about how that worked.
They developed plans of evacuation and to activate plans already, you know, on the shelf that we've planned for years.
No, another thing, Mr. Chellis, is that this was a tremendous response from multiple different agencies here for this event, too.
Well, this was, in terms of both Irene and Lee combined, the state had activated the Fire Mobilization Mutual Aid System, which allowed us, as soon as we were anticipating we were going to use up our county, within county resources and any neighboring counties that could assist us through emergency management request resources, which go up to Albany Emergency Operations Center, and they deployed the largest activation in the region ever in state's history, even above September 11th in terms of the length of the mobilization and the number of units that were deployed in all of these counties.
Maybe too early to tell what needs to be improved this time for the next time, but if you had to think about something that you could enhance a little bit more for another emergency like this, what do you think it would be?
There's always areas that you want to try to enhance planning. You know, we've now done a mass evacuation. What areas in terms of sheltering and response routes could be of improvement? You know, public information is always a challenge today with instant messaging and social networking.
Is it a question of not if, but when another flood could happen for planning for Broome County?
Emergency management, we look at both when and if on everything. You know, all hazards planning, but we know, but through risk analysis and the history, that flooding is probably one of our #1 risks in terms of emergency response here. And so it's always a matter of when in terms of flooding.
Okay. Mr. Chellis, thanks very much for being with us, and thank you for all the things you've done for us here in Broome County. Let's go back to you guys.
Thank you, Matt. And next, the long wait to return home.
And a local housing crisis as winter approaches. We'll be right back.